It's time for another edition of Make Us a Mixtape. I'm Paul Farahvar.
I'm Marty DeRosa.
And we are doing another Zoom effort at this thing because we're on the road and we have a special guest here sitting next to me, comedian. You've seen him on the road. You've seen him on Cobra Kai. Bret Ernst. How are you, Bret?
I'm doing good.
All right, welcome to the show. Paul, you already messed up. You buried the lead so hard. This is our second MTV employee on the podcast. Bret was a commentator for Wrestling Society X on MTV. That is why I'm a music insider, Paul. All right? You blew the lead. We had an MTV guest.
You're a huge wrestling fan, right?
I am. Bret, I was watching some shoot interviews last night, and a guy from XPW was an LA Fed back in the day, was talking, and they were using Wrestling Society X footage of
really?
like Vampiro and all those dudes, X-Pac and
Is it Roman Reigns? Wasn't he WSX or somebody there? Was he the Roman Reigns or
No, Tyler Black, Seth Rollins.
Seth Rollins, that's what it is.
Seth Rollins is Tyler Black, yeah, him and so how did you get this job for MTV since Paul completely didn't know
what you're talking about first. What's the job? Tell everyone, because I don't watch wrestling. I don't know anything about any of this. So
didn't you watch MTV and notice there was a wrestling show in there?
I think I turned it off when I saw Hogan.
All right, Bret, let everybody know what the story is.
There was a show in I think it was 2006. MTV brought professional wrestling to the network, and it was a lot of the XPW guys, but it was called Wrestling Society X. And basically what it was is you'd have a band play in the beginning, right? And then, or a musical act, because we had rappers too, 3 6 Mafia. Yep. And then they would come in the booth and we'd call the matches together. So
how terrible were some of those people calling those matches with you? Like, I felt like you guys were like, I forget, there were a couple groups where you were just like, cool, man, thanks for hanging out. Like when they would leave, you could tell they were the worst guests.
Well, it's like the network, it's back, it was right before they changed all their programming. You know what I mean? To like no music at all. Like I don't even think they're associated with music anymore, or I don't even think they're around anymore. But it was, so a lot of the acts were like not big wrestling guys, some were.
Do you remember some of the bands or rappers? Did you remember some of the bands or rappers?
3 6 Mafia, I remember. Good Charlotte.
Good Charlotte.
Oh, Zach, the guitarist, Zach Wild.
Zach Wild.
Yeah, he was great.
So when was the last time you actually made a mixtape or a mix CD or?
Fuck, man. Early 90s, man.
When did you make them? What were the situations where you made a mixtape?
If I had a girl coming over,
okay.
I always had all my my fuck music.
Please name some fuck bands.
Jodeci, Guy, Troop, Shy, a lot of R&B, Sade. I love all that stuff.
I feel like if you play that stuff, you really need to sexually perform well. Like you can't play all that stuff and then just come in like 2 minutes and be like, sorry. You have to do like an hour and a half of foreplay with those bands.
I know, it's like do da da do do do. We didn't even get to the very
chorus. Yeah, it's like we're on the second chorus.
Was that Shy song the last acapella like big hit?
I don't know.
That was a huge hit.
End of the Road.
No, End of the Road's not acapella. There's music.
Before, yeah. All right.
Shy is just all them.
I almost threw a couple R&B songs on this list, but it just would have been redundant.
When you made the list, though, Bret, were you making them? You'd keep them on, or you wouldn't give people the tapes? Or the CDs? You would keep them for yourself. They were like mixtapes.
Yeah, I would keep it for myself.
Yeah. You never made them for someone else?
No, I listened to them in the car.
Okay.
But they were tapes. I didn't have a CD burner.
Okay.
I was still working with cassette when people were burning CDs. Yeah.
He's in Jersey.
What about when Napster came out? Did you guys get Napster in New Jersey?
I was in LA with Napster. I've been in LA since '99, so we had it. We had the internet.
What was your like? What's your like go-to genre of music if you were gonna like see a live band? Who do you want to see? What kind of music?
You're gonna hate me. I'm not a fan of live music at all.
What don't you like about it?
I just don't like people.
Okay.
I will say that one of the my ex-wife took me for my birthday to really my first concert, and it was Billy Joel, and it was unbelievable.
Where was that at?
San Diego at the where the Padres play. But it's crazy because the guy was sitting there on the piano, right, and he's letting the audience. The whole place was packed, and he's like, "What song you want to hear?" So they would put up 2 songs, and he would pick. We would pick, and then he would play. And I'm thinking he did about an hour and a half, 2 hours, and he did half his catalog.
Yeah.
Or they're like picking 2 songs, like Piano Man, or and then the next song will be
no. It was like it was hard to decide, but then he would come back and like
he'd do the other one.
Yeah,
anyway.
he would show like another one. It was just really great, man.
That would be great if to like fuck with everybody. He's like, all right, let's see our next 2 songs, and it was like, fuck the police and give me that nut, and everybody's like, oh man, we got to go fuck the police, and he's like, here we go, and then.
What he did, which I thought was so smart, the minute he sat down, his first words were, hey, welcome. Don't worry, I'm not doing any new songs off of any new albums. And everybody just.
I mean, that's like my favorite thing. It's like the complete opposite with comedy. It's like comedy, if somebody hears like a fraction of a joke, they're like, I was here a couple weeks ago and I heard that joke or whatever. And you're like, okay. But with music, if somebody's like, here's something off our new album, like, I think David Spade did a joke about it like years ago on his HBO special where it's like, you might as well call this new song, go ahead and go to the bathroom and like get another beer because everybody just like splits. It's such a bummer too when you're at a show and you're like, I don't know any of these songs, or if I don't know the opening band, you're just like, this is nice, but I'm not really like into it.
Well, I think music, I mean, I used to talk about comedy like that too. I'd say, we got to keep it fresh. They plus we got to practice in front of people. They can practice in a garage and they want to hear the hits. But I think the reasoning behind that is because, again, which you guys tapped into something great here with the playlist, is that music evokes so much emotion and so many memories. And like I can hear songs. There's a song on here too that I put on my list that just I can automatically smell the food and you just hear things, and music just evokes so many senses. You know what I mean? That's why people they love it.
All right.
Man. I mean, I love it. I love it.
You have one of the weirdest mixes that we've had on here. So I'm very curious. I think with context, I'll go, this all makes sense. I get it. I get what he was going for. But yeah, there's some interesting songs.
We talked about it at the show, and he's like, I could have put this on. And I'm like, sure. What are the songs, before we get into the mix, what are the songs that like almost made the cut? And you're like, I didn't.
He's Not Heavy, He's My Brother.
Okay.
Which I love. The meaning behind that song is just unbelievable. I don't know if you even know what it's about, but it's just a great story that's based off of Boys Town in Omaha. Now, I didn't know that. I thought it was about it. First, I originally thought it was about a kid that was overweight and everybody made fun of him and the brother was sticking up for him. Then we get to the words, you're like, oh, it's about brothers looking out for each other through life. But when you hear the fucking story, you're like, holy shit, man. And it's just an incredible story. Yeah. If you want to hear it, it's quick, but it's amazing. So
that was one that didn't make the cut.
That didn't make the cut, but I loved it because, well, the story goes that during the Depression, like kids' parents were that everybody was out of work, and parents were literally selling their kids for help, for labor on farms. It was just really bad. So Father Flanagan that started the Boys Town, which is it was a wayward boys home. It's during the snow, and he sees this object coming through the cornfield, right? And he looks, and make a long story boring, it's a little boy, a 9-year-old boy carrying his 4-year-old brother on his back. So they brought him in, they got him emergency, they're nursing the little brother, they give the 9-year-old soup. And as he's eating the soup, the father was like, how long have you been carrying him? And he's been carrying him for almost 4 days. So he said, wow, he must have been heavy. And he dropped the fork. He said, he ain't heavy, he's my brother.
Yeah.
And that's what he kept saying to himself when he was carrying him. And that became the motto. And, if you have brothers and, that you went through, if you go through shit with your brothers, it's just a great song, man. Because, I'm the middle child and I was very close with both my brothers.
Yeah.
So that didn't make the list.
That didn't make the cut. Any others?
Oh, go ahead, Paul.
Are there any others that almost didn't make it?
Yeah, I mean, I won't get to the long stories.
Yeah.
A lot of R&B songs, a lot of hip hop songs.
I know a lot of people have people who were like big hip hop heads back in the 90s. They have their the way they sort of think about hip hop today. As an R&B guy, what do you think of the R&B today?
You know, it's crazy. There were some good bands. I like this chick Snow Allegra. I like this other girl Sabrina. I can't think of her name. Man. Very smooth. They're very smooth.
New R&B.
Yeah, The Weeknd is good. I like The Weeknd. But you know, again, man, people tend to gravitate towards the songs that they have the memories and association with. You know what I mean? So I mean, are they actually good songs? Like I listened. What I absolutely did not put on this list that I kind of did a song with it, but it was more hip hop than freestyle. But I love freestyle, man. Like Expose, Trenier, all that Guido club music. You know what I mean, from the '80s.
Yeah.
And but you know, when you listen to it, it's really not good music. It's not like, you know.
Yeah. We had a lot of in Chicago. They played a lot of like heartthrob music, and you listen to it back then, and I was like, man, this is so cool. And now you listen to it, and it's just like, I can't believe like grown men were saying some of this stuff into a microphone. Like it's like ridiculous.
Well, you guys were big on house, man. A lot of house.
Yeah.
This is in Chicago.
Yeah.
I almost put a house song on there, but I didn't either.
You have a joke. I'm not going to get into it because people got to see it, but you talk about you shit on music in our time frame.
Yeah. Everybody's shitting on the young kids. It's like, stop that. No, not all of our stuff was good.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
not at all.
A lot of bad songs.
Oh, and I almost put some doo-wop on there too. There's a couple 50 songs that I love that have meaning.
Well, let's
And
go ahead.
The comic travels a lot. You're probably in a lot of rental cars driving around. What do you think of satellite radio? Do you listen to music on satellite radio? Because I'm convinced there's only like 100 songs and they just keep playing the same ones over and over again.
Dude, I swear I used to say it to my ex-wife. That's why we canceled it.
Mhm.
If I'm going on a road trip, I listen to 70s. I love that 70s divorce music.
Yeah.
You know, like the
Yacht rock.
Carpenters.
Yeah.
The light and stuff. Yeah.
Sissy Rock. Yeah, I love that.
I love it. So, but then you hear the same songs at the same times. Like if I'm driving at like 2:30, you know, you'll hear like, you know, Ventura Highway, you know, one of those songs. You're like, wait, I just heard this yesterday at this time.
Yeah.
I think
Insane.
it's a program.
I can't imagine people who are just, unless people are just like robots and they're driving to work every day and they're like, I got to hear We Didn't Start the Fire from 80s on 8. And just like, if I don't hear it, I don't know if this is like even happening. Cause I've rented so many cars and you listen to it and you're just like, this is the worst. Like, it's just the same songs over and over and over again.
That's why I love Spotify, man. I think Spotify's the best, dude. It really
like
is.
your first song here. When in the world would they play your first song on satellite radio? They won't. They should have a channel that's just like, want to hear weird soundtrack songs? The first song is one of those. This is Robert Tepper, No Easy Way Out. This is from the Rocky 3 soundtrack.
Whoa,
Rocky 4 soundtrack. But it obviously could have also been like the theme song to like a wrestling in the 80s. Like you'd see like Hulk Hogan working out.
Right now, he's in his car. He's driving.
Yeah.
Is it playing?
Is it playing?
Hearing it? Yeah. So I feel like if you have a bad early show and you're outside like in the alley and you're like, I'm not gonna let him get to me, and you're doing like a dance to the song and it's like getting you pumped up to be like, I'm gonna fucking crush this late show.
Chorus play? You want the chorus play? Yeah. Okay. Let's get to the No Easy Way Out so people know. I think this is clear. If anyone put this on their mix that they can't tell, it's like clearly there's a Italian reference in it.
There's no easy way out. There's no shortcut home. There's no easy way out.
Okay, so why I clearly understand some of the reason why you put this on here.
Right.
Being an Italian, I feel like you had to have some sort of recognition.
No, well, look. First of all, Rocky 4. Let's show it the respect it deserves. It helped end the Cold War. That and the Scorpions, Winter Chain,
yes,
brought down the Iron Curtain.
And the CIA, I heard the CIA helped write that song.
That's
No,
a conspiracy you talked about before.
We saw Rocky IV in Garfield, New Jersey. It was all Italians in the theater. It's still the best live movie I've ever seen in a theater. I mean, to this day, it was cheering, and that's why that Eddie Murphy bit is even better.
Oh yeah,
You know?
he talks about.
But yeah. So I used to listen to this. So when Rocky IV came out, I was playing Little League football, and I was working out at the PAL with the Police Athletic League, and I would listen to this song. I would have that cassette tape playing, and I would work out to it, and I always worked out to that song even to this day. All throughout Little League football, high school football, college football, every level I played. And then it just, every time I feel like, you know, I should be doing more, I put that song on when I'm at the gym, when I run. The whole Rocky IV soundtrack.
So you had this cassette of the Rocky IV soundtrack.
Yeah.
Would you
Do
just
you remember what other songs do you remember from that cassette?
I was just kidding.
The training montage. There's a lot of instrumentals on it.
Okay.
Living in America's from that soundtrack.
Oh yeah, Living in America, James Brown.
But there's Victory. There's one called the training montage, Victory. Dun dun.
Yeah.
Dun, then he goes.
I would assume around this time we're like remixing old Rocky standards. Like I bet when you get to like 5 and 6, like, because I remember "Go For It" was the big theme song for 5.
Yeah, well, we don't talk about 5, dude. Why even bring it up?
Right,
5 never happened.
That wasn't a sanctioned fight, so that movie wasn't happening. Yeah.
That movie was all across the board. We don't speak on it.
Tommy
Some
Gunn.
of those
The Tommy
soundtracks,
Gunn
I
one?
can remember the whole soundtrack of old movies. That's good.
Well,
Weird.
Tom Conti, or Bill Conti did the soundtrack for Rocky, the instrumentals. That's, you know, even the famous dun 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 dun. But you know, and then the other
Gonna
person,
Fly Now.
Gonna Fly Now, and then Frank Stallone, Rocky's brother, Sylvester's brother, did like Take It Back.
Yeah.
Do 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 do. Take it.
Well,
back.
Survivor did Eye of the Tiger, and then they did the follow-up song too. Those are Chicago guys too. So.
But there's a song "Man Against the World," which is great. It's just, for me, it's a soundtrack for men. And you know what else I found out about? Tony Romo listens to he was listening to the Rocky IV soundtrack before games.
This is, by the way, Marty, your references to wrestling. This guy cannot go a day without referencing Tony Romo in some way, shape,
Or Dallas
form.
Cowboys.
The Dallas Cowboys. Like, literally, we'll be walking on the street, so he sees someone with a Cowboys hat. He's like, "Yeah, it's gonna be a tough year." It's like, come on. Uh-oh, you're frozen.
You there, buddy?
Uh-oh.
Can we stop and start?
No. Can you hear us, Marty? He had like a
You have a
perma-gray.
great face. He dropped it. Well, we can keep recording. Just call him back. Tell him to call us back.
All right, so we were talking about this. We'll get him back in here. We got to edit this in.
This happens on ours sometimes too. We
Really?
lose my brother on our on the Dallas Cowboy podcast.
Dallas Cowboy podcast. So you were talking about the No Way Out. Do you have all the soundtracks of Rocky, or is this the only cassette that you had?
Well, Rocky IV. I mean, there is one that was a whole Rocky, the whole from every movie.
The box set.
Pretty much. There's like Rocky's Greatest Hits, which has replaced the Rocky IV. I mean, if I had to pick one, it would definitely be the Rocky.
You guys back?
Yeah.
We were just talking about the Rocky. They have a Rocky box set you can get.
The whole soundtrack's phenomenal, but it's all they did. Rocky 1, 2, 3, 4.
On Sirius XM, they could have a channel, like a "Fuck Yeah" channel, and there would be songs that make you feel like "fuck yeah." And this would be one of my top 100 songs on the "Fuck Yeah" channel.
Dude, that song, I hear that, I want to kill everyone.
I think it would be a bad idea for road rage problems.
Yeah, maybe legally we can't have a "Fuck Yeah" channel for cars.
Yeah, it's probably a bad idea. I think if you had this song in your car, there would be a lot more
But
fights.
what's funny is the scene when he's driving a Lamborghini, right? And I'm rolling around in my 97 Ford Escort 4-cylinder, and listening to it, trying to get to the gym. Yeah. Back in the day.
All right, let's jump to the next song here. This is an awesome duo that I hadn't heard in a little while.
You haven't had
And this is
them on
the
yet.
song.
Please pick that.
Yeah, we have our first on the podcast, Eric B. and Rakim with Follow the Leader.
Rakim must stay.
What happened?
We can't hear it.
We can't hear it.
Rakim must
Can you
stay.
hear it now? All right. I don't know if I have to keep talking or something. Like,
Follow me into a solo, get in the flow. And you can picture like a photo. Music makes mellow, maintains to make melodies for MCs, motivation to break some everlasting. I can go on for days and days with rhyme displays that engrave deep as X-rays. I can take a phrase that's rarely heard, flip it, now it's a daily word. I can get iller than normal, kill it, bomb, but no alarm.
that is such a good song.
Yeah, I love it. It's Eric B. and Rakim, not Rakim.
Oh, Rakim. Sorry.
Rakim.
I don't get in trouble.
You don't want to
You got
find it.
canceled, man.
Yeah.
From the 90s rock from the right.
I always remember Don't Sweat the Technique was always my favorite song of theirs from back in the day. But this is a good one. I listened to this like 3 or 4 times. It's a good song.
That's off their the album that came out in '88. I don't know if it's Paid in Full came out in '87.
Was this the biggest hit off that album, or is this like a B-side? Or
No,
it's
it's
like-
not the biggest hit off that album.
What was the biggest hit off this album?
Ah, shoot.
Because in the 80s, I wasn't listening to rap or hip hop or anything like that.
I'd have to look that up. I
Okay.
forget because I get that Paid in Full. Like Eric
Hidden.
B. as president is one of my favorite ones. You know, obviously Follow the Leader. I Ain't No Joke.
Yeah.
But see, to me, Rakim, I mean, there's so many hip hop songs I wanted to play. Like I had DMX. I love DMX, man. But this really meant to me too, because again, I associate this with football. That was one of my songs I would listen to before games. And then we used to put, I know it sounds crazy, but me and my boys, if we were going to go fight somebody or whatever, like, you had crews fight other guys or whatever might be going on, we would listen to that song if we were going to go roll out somewhere. And it's a soundtrack of my high school.
When they stabbed your buddy
Oh,
Patrick Swayze.
Paul, did that happen a lot in Oak Brook, Illinois?
Yeah, we would play music before we would go egg someone's
Hey,
house.
man, no, I'm serious. You guys didn't have like other groups or crews that you had a beef with or something that you would go, go meet up.
Oh, yeah.
with?
Marty's from Indiana. They might have gone to the sharecroppers.
The war with the hillbillies. Yeah, you had to take on the hillbillies and you'd play some music.
Well, you got to remember, man, South Florida has I had over 2,000 kids in my high school, and there's at least, I'd say 20 or 30 high schools in the area, right? And then you had teen clubs and gangs, but then you had guys that played ball, and you didn't really have neighborhoods. You were just really placed by who you went to school with. Like I grew up in an apartment complex, up the street where most of my friends lived everywhere. Like nobody lived in one neighborhood, if that makes sense. So you were always running into kids, man. You go to a high school party, there's going to be 20 high schools there that you don't even know half the people there. Shit's going to happen.
One thing you mentioned that I explained to our younger listeners, teen dance clubs.
Yeah. We had High Tops and the Panthers.
I love the names. We had Jubilations. Jubilations was the big one in Chicago, yeah.
Relations.
Jubilations.
And Medusa.
Yeah, Jubilations was out in the suburbs in Illinois.
Yeah.
By the Indiana-Illinois border. I love those. And you would just go. Would you go get fucked up before you go and stuff?
I didn't drink at all in high school. I didn't party at all.
Oh, okay.
But it was weird because there was arcades. It's so weird in high school how the cops can't arrest the local criminals, but they could find a group of teenagers hanging out in the middle of fucking nowhere, and everybody always had like a parking lot. We used to hang out at the Denny's parking lot, but it would be like we would be there, and then the other kids that we used to fight all the time were at the Burger King, and everybody would meet up there. But what was really cool about Florida is my friend used to have these warehouse parties, right? So he would make flyers to say we were gonna have these things to throw the cops off, and then underground we knew where it was going, and he would rent out these warehouses. I mean, dude, we're like 16 years old, and he'd have 2 DJs and kegs of beer, and there would be like, I'm not even joking, 300 kids there.
The
you know,
Flyers would say it's like
somewhere
Burger King.
else. Yeah, no, it would
Well,
say
right,
it was
right.
like somewhere else out.
That's fucking hilarious.
And it would be underground. I mean, you know, and all my friends, we're still friends to this day. They were older than me, but they used to run it, and I would just show up with my friends. But you know, there was a lot of gangs down there, man, a lot of problems. Because yeah, I didn't really go to South Florida's a weird area, man. If you're from there, you know what I mean, man. There's a lot of problems. Sometimes.
But you weren't drinking at these parties, so like it seems like you were either gonna get laid or you're gonna start a fight, or both.
Probably get in a fight
Yeah.
more than get laid. I was very stupid and immature.
Yeah.
I was not good with the ladies in high school. A lot of girls liked me. I just was immature, man. I was either, you know what I was doing is really cracking and joking around all the fucking time.
Yeah.
You know, that's why everybody had me around. I was always cracking jokes and making people laugh, but you know, that's just what it was, man. And then my brother's crew would meet up with us. I mean, dude, I'm not even kidding you. One time we were out one night, we were at least 60 deep in this fucking place. You know?
Your older brother?
No, a little
Your
brother.
younger brother,
Not the
okay.
gay brother. My gay brother is.
Oh yeah.
You know what's funny is we had a picture of me and my friends, right? And me and my brother's friends. There's a picture of us. We're like, because we used to have these. Actually, I have this girl I used to date just sent me one today. This was at a. We used to like rent out the parks and stuff and get pavilions. But I'm not even kidding. You have 200-300 kids there, and we would go. This was actually from one of them. So there's a picture of. Here's me and my brother right here.
I'll put it up.
Can you see it? That was actually at one of the at the parties, right?
Yeah.
So, but anyways, there's a picture of all of us like posing. So my gay brother goes, "Oh, those are your friends?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "They look really nice." I go, "You know," and he was always breaking my balls. So he goes, "Here's my friends," and he held up a picture, and it was he was in the play La Caja Falls. So you see all these gay guys in drag and whatever, and he's like, "These are my friends." It's just such, you know. Anyways,
You there, Marty? He froze again. Oh.
I'm wondering if it's us.
Play this song.
Oh, here we go.
You there?
Yeah. Back
Right, so
on.
here's the thing, we can't talk during the song, right?
Yeah. So I'm gonna play a little bit of it, and then you explain it to us.
Okay, but you gotta let the intro play, and then it's got to get to when he really gets into
All right. You just let me know. I'll start bringing it down,
it.
Paul.
I'll do this for you to
All right.
spot.
This is the
Jimmy
Mala
Rosselli.
Femina.
All right.
Yeah,
Here we go.
Mala Femina, the Jimmy
Femina.
Femina.
Si avesse fatta nada quella che ha fatto a me, stommo d'avesse chiusa e voi sapete perché in cappa sta terra femmina come te non stavano onesti come me. Femmina, tu sei una mala femmina.
I feel like we're in a Scorsese film. The guy just picked up the girl to go on their first date.
1950s. Mala
Yeah.
Femina, the
Yeah,
Jimmy Rosselli
Now,
version.
Now this
You
is
said very specifically, this is the version.
right. Well, there's another. Jerry Vales is pretty too.
Okay.
This one is very. This one is actually very personal to my family. First of all, Jimmy Rosselli's from Hoboken. A lot of people don't know that.
You're from Passaic, New Jersey.
Well, I grew up in Passaic,
Okay.
you know, and then I moved to South Florida in my ninth grade year.
Okay.
But Jimmy Rosselli is actually from Hoboken, as Sinatra was. But there's a whole thing that my grandfather was from Hoboken. Actually, Sinatra sang at my great grandparents' anniversary. So Hoboken's only 1 mile by 1 mile, right? So, but Jimmy was really the one that he sang those Italian songs that like everybody, all the old school Guineas loved them. You know what I mean? And you would hear that every Sunday. I mean, that just reminds me of my grandma. See, it's not my generation, but I grew up on all that. You know what I mean? That's what you hear when, you know, we're eating dinner on Sundays. My grandmother would cook, and it reminds me of my stepfather and just my mom and my godfather. It's just, that's the music you hear. And I could smell the food cooking. You know, whenever I'm missing home or whatever, I could put those songs on and I could just smell everything, man. My house always smells like food.
Marty, did you guys have this kind of music in the...
That's like that. I have like a super Italian side of the family. So that would be, yeah, that's like the super Italian side of the family. For you, Paul, it's probably like a Olive Garden commercial. Like if you close your eyes, you just see somebody pouring pasta sauce on some.
I mean, this song definitely makes me hungry for like pasta. I thought
and you're
racist, but yeah, I mean,
whatever the new deal is.
It's definitely got a, obviously, what does it mean? What does Mala
I
mean?
fucking no clue.
We'll edit that out and just riff something. It means when a man loves a woman. Yeah.
He loves vagine. He's singing about vagine.
It's like one of those where you don't even have to know the language. It just it's like one of those where like, I remember one time I did a show with this older comic and I'm like, how'd I do it? He goes, oh, you did great. And I go, oh, did you listen? He goes, no, but I heard the like da-da-da-da, 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 and the audience laughed. I get it. It's like a language, and it's the same thing with that. You listen and you're just like, I don't know what he's saying, but it sounds cool.
I think he's singing about some chick.
I would think so.
I could understand my grandpa. I can't speak Italian. I used to be able to understand when they talked up. You know, you pick up on all the words, and they spoke in a dialect that they don't even speak in Italy anymore because they came at the turn of the century, you know? But my grandmother could speak proper English. My grandfather, my great-grandparents couldn't speak at all. And they were here forever. They couldn't speak. But it's sad, man. Like, you know, when you hear the stories, like my grandmother's mother was the youngest of 13, and all of them had died before they were 30 of like diseases in Italy, you know, and then they came here, and my grandma never got to see her mom again. You know, there's just all those hardships that you hear about, and you know.
It's with every immigrant family. They've got that stuff, you know, all over the place.
But, you know, the one thing my grandfather would say is, you know, look, we always kept our heritage, but we were American first, you know, like that. He had two flags up in the front, the red, white, and blue flew over to the red, white, and green, but we still kept, you know, whatever culture that it morphed into Italian American culture as opposed to Italy, because you had all these. It really is an interesting story of how all these different areas lived together in like Brooklyn, and it formed its own dialect. But a lot of people, my grandmother used to tell me all the time, this is an interesting fact, because the Sinatra family and my family were very close. And Dolly knew my grandmother, and Dolly is Sinatra's mom, which was my great grandmother. They were very close, but she could speak almost all 20-something dialects of Italian. And the other thing is that it's true. A lot of people, she owned a bar. They owned like an Irish bar. It had like an Irish name or something, but she could speak all the dialects. So she was like a very powerful woman in the neighborhood, from what I heard. But, you know, anyways. But
very cool. Now your next song, this is going on my fucking list.
Quick other story I forgot to mention. Jimmy Roselli got blackballed by Sinatra because he was under contract. And it was his mother's favorite singer. So he asked Jimmy to play for her at her party. And he said, I can't. And he couldn't do it. And Frank went after him. He's like, you know, it's that Guinea shit, man. You know how those Guineas are.
You're going to sing for my mother? How dare you? Yeah.
Dare you. Now you're never working again.
How do you say no to Sinatra? Was he like Sinatra?
Yeah, you're Sinatra.
I mean, how do you say no? What do you think the gig was?
Favorite artist, not her son, though. That's another thing.
I mean, it's like,
but like what
when my parents start retweeting pictures of, they're like, Master Brownie's our favorite comedian. I'm like, all right, that's cool. That's how I feel.
What do you think the gig was that he did? He just did a regular show or something? And
I think he had a date, he had a concert or something, and it was a conflict of interest. That's from what I heard. But
you don't say no to Frankie.
But Frank, personally, I mean, listen, man, there's a lot of stuff about Frank being you know.
There's a book, actually, I was telling you last night, Tom Dreesen wrote an autobiography about all his times with Frank Sinatra. I highly recommend the book, especially if you're a Frank Sinatra fan. He tells a lot of good stories about his life on the road with Frank.
What
and,
he said?
and
He
all
said he
those
was a
stuff.
tough guy. Like,
No, he never.
I don't mean a fight guy, but like
No, he said he's a tender, like the most loyal guy ever. No
He had a
bad.
great story. He told me the story one time where it was like his first time opening, and he did his set, and he was like all proud of himself, and he's standing in the back of the club, and he's watching the show, and they're all out there, and they're Rat Packs doing all these bits, and then a waiter comes out with a tray and drops it, and they roasted this guy, and he was like, I've never seen anybody get roasted this hard, and this poor guy. And then the Late Show, he does his set, and he's like, I'm gonna go back and watch it again. And he's watching. And then the same dude walks out and drops the tray, and they roast him with all the same jokes. And he's like, these fuckers had it all planned out.
Did you ever hear the tipping story that he did?
Yeah, what is that?
$dollars.
Yeah, he
It's
told
like-
the kid, you'll forget about the guy, because he asked him. He said,
goes,
no. He said, what's the most tip you
you've
ever
ever
got?
gotten? Yeah.
He said 100.
And
He
he
said,
goes,
well, here's 200. Now you're gonna forget about that guy. And he goes, it was you.
he goes, who was the other guy? It's you.
you.
So
Excellent. So yeah, your next song is just when you talk about those like dance parties in the 90s, this is just like one of the songs that would come on that everybody would lose their shit. If this comes on at a wedding today, when people, you know, that lived through this hear it, just the opening parts of the song are just so good. African Bada and the Soul Sonic Force with Planet Rock. If you don't know it, I'm going to play it and then you'll go, oh yeah, that's one of the best songs of all time.
Can't hear
we
it.
can't hear it.
And we talk again, see if that helps. Got it on full blast.
You know what? I think you want to turn it down. Yeah.
Is that coming through now? All right.
All the lyrics on this side.
What's that?
Like Brett knows all lyrics. So
I've heard this sort of fucking million times.
all right, so what's the story behind the Planet Rock song?
So 6th grade is really when I moved back to, I was in Passaic in Jersey at the time. So, Passaic, North Jersey at that time, man, was, it was a rough area. It was, it was the crack era, all that shit. But, my neighborhood where I lived was pretty nice. But, I went to, I was still involved with a lot of the rougher kids because I went to public schools there, whatever. I'm not going to downplay anything. But
You don't have to apologize. You just tell your story. You don't have to apologize.
So back then, on the other side of the Bronx, you had a lot of crews that were always come. Like there was a stage in the park in Third Ward Park where the kids would break on and they would.
It was
battle.
called Third World Park.
Third Ward.
Oh, okay.
You
I
had
was like,
Second Ward.
it'd be-
Is that the famous with all the spray paint on the stage?
In Passaic, now it's beautiful. They fit that.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
I remember all those like New York movies. They would have that theater they would all go to that had all spray paint all over it.
Well, it at the time there was a burner on the stage, but it's gone now. I mean, the whole neighborhood, the whole area is nice. It really is. All the Hasidic Jews live there now. They bought it up. They fixed everything nice. But it was nice.
You're
then,
welcome.
though. Yeah, I know. Anyways, please. now we're going to hear the end of it. No, that all the crews, there would be crews that would sometimes come down there and break, and I was like a little kid and I would watch it, and and then I would imitate, and I was really good too, man. I was a good dancer when I was younger. I could do the windmills like this, and
Did you get into break dancing? You could do all the break dancing?
but it was weird. It was like because my school was mostly Black and Puerto Rican. And the Puerto Rican kids were like better on the windmills and shit. The brothers were better at locking. And then, then there was like the handful of Italian kids that were like in the fade. But I hung out mostly with the Black. I was hanging with the brothers more than the Puerto Rican kids. Even though I had a couple of Puerto Rican friends because they were always fighting. There was always a problem going on between.
Paul, I don't know if you feel this, but as a kid in the Midwest, when I would see, like they'd have the cardboard down and they're breakdancing, that to me felt like another planet. Like when you'd see like New York or LA where people are breakdancing, I was just like, where is this planet that they're doing this? It seemed like the craziest thing ever.
We got to break. I remember I bought, my parents got us the magazines on how to moonwalk and all that stuff.
Mom
And then
watching magazines.
we let us get, because we'd watch it, and then our parents would buy us the magazines, and we would put the cardboard, and like we never could have enough cardboard because you need a long.
If you could score linoleum, that was the thing. This kid, God, what was his name, man? He was like really good. He was like the first one to really do the windmills. But and there was this kid Pedro, man, that could do windmills too, man. I remember him. That's the one that I was practicing. My boy Sizzow could do them. But we had this linoleum. He had a piece of linoleum that we used. That was pretty dope. He waxed it up. But it was a pretty cool time to grow up, man. I think I grew up in the right places at the right times because I was in the right places at the right times. Because it was 83 to 86. It was, that was when hip hop was just starting to blow up. And my cousin used to get these mixtapes. And there was a club called the LQ, which was the Latin Quarters that, that's why they call it breakdancing, by the way. A lot of people don't know why.
Why is that? Because
the DJs would take a break and they would play like these instrumentals, which I had a shit ton of those. Like Art of Noise. Say what?
Of just the instrumental music?
It was like Art of Noise. They had some good ones.
Funky drummer.
That Let's Dance.
No. The funky drummer was like the funky drummer was that one sample that everybody would do back in the day. It's hard to explain right now.
Well, there's a song called Just Begun by the Jimmy Castor Bunch that was in like 78, 79. That had people used to uprock to that. But in the clubs, the break beats were like, like I said,
instrumentals where they play long out.
So they would play long out. So then the dancers would come and then kids would battle each other in the city. I never went to those, like to the Roxy and stuff where they had in Beach Street where they met. Yeah. That was the Roxy in the city. One of my best friends is actually in. You see him as a kid walking. He was there and walking through the crowd. My boy Charlie. They used to snatch chains. That's when Biggie talks about snatching chains at the Roxy. That's what he meant. The stealing the gold chains. But yeah, no, man, it was a great time. And that song, there's about 50 songs I could put on that. You know what I mean? Because that actually is, you had hip hop, and then you had freestyle, and then you had like Twilight 22.
What's Twilight 22?
Electric Kingdom. It was like boom, boom, boom. Everybody had the same beat, right?
Yeah.
And then you had like that song Security. So there were songs that were like that bridged both freestyle and hip hop. And again, man, I'm not an expert on it. I just grew up around it, and I'm not a DJ. But I'm sure if people are listening to this that know all that stuff, they could correct it. But I know I'm in the ballpark.
It's so wild how those songs hold up so well. Like I just listened to Mars Pump Up the Volume. I watched the video for Mars Pump Up the Volume, and It Takes Two from
Rob Bass.
And DJ Easy Rock, and it's just like they're like classic.
Yeah, now you're coming to like the high top fade era.
Yeah, that's like 87 or so, right?
88.
That's my like watching like Yo MTV Raps. Like one summer, I think I just stayed home every day and just watched Yo MTV Raps like every day, and I got so into it. That was like that era where it just was like,
late 80s.
Man, Public Enemy, like Fight the Power videos and stuff like that. Like that was just such a cool time.
My senior year.
Those are like, that was like when Funky Cold Medina, Tone Loc came out.
That's awful.
And all that. That's when it got all commercialized with Young MC and all the shit that was just like.
I'll tell you, man, West Coast. I talk about this a lot because look, the first real gangster rapper was a dude named Schoolie D. He was out of Philly, right? He's the one. It's where the Beastie Boys get looking at my Gucci. It's about that time, right? Because the song is how was it called? P.S. King. P.S. King is making that green. No, looking at my Gucci. It's Gucci time, I think. But there's also genres like in the South, like in Miami, had all bass, man.
Yeah.
Like, girl, you had Two Live Crew, but then you had like Gucci Crew and MC Shy-D out of Atlanta. So they had their sound, which is what I miss now too. Like New York had their sound, LA had their sound, the South had their sound. Chicago even had a band called Crucial Conflict.
Yeah.
Rolling on, hey, in the middle of the barn. It was like, and Cleveland had what was that song? Meet Me at the Crossroads. What was the name of that band?
Both Thugs in Harmony.
Both Thugs in Harmony. So
Yeah.
like, you know, people they repped where they were from.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then Jersey had what, Redman and you know, Naughty by Nature was from there.
Yeah.
Who are still at it. Naughty by Nature still does the occasional.
I saw them in Hammond, Indiana at a festival, and they were fantastic.
We opened for them at the festival in Bucktown once at
Wow.
Cairns had a festival, and they headlined it.
See, I watched I watch those breakdancing tournaments now, and the kids are phenomenal.
Yeah.
But they look
So
like
good.
but they look like they're contortionists. Like they look like they're doing tricks. If you ever get a chance to YouTube a break battle, like a real street battle, like between like the New York, the Rocksteady crew and the New York City Breakers or something, because that was like a huge rivalry, man. And let me tell you something, man. They were from Washington Heights, which is like near the Bronx. It's going uptown, right over the George Washington Bridge. And then now you're in like Fort Lee area. But that area, that rang true. Like everybody knew about that. Even in Jersey, you heard about it. Like it was weird. And you would get mixtapes with all the hot songs in the city that nobody even heard yet, you know, from getting them from the clubs. So like when people walked around with those radios, you know, you saw people do it as a trend at one point, but there was a purpose for that.
Yeah.
You know, they carried that motherfucker in case they saw another crew.
It's a rap.
And then they were going to fucking battle,
Right.
man. But it was,
Awesome.
it was in its
So
infancy.
funny.
And then I would say the next great era of hip hop has to be mid 90s was phenomenal.
Yeah.
In New York, hip hop in mid 90s was unbelievable.
Yeah, I watched the BET Death Row documentary recently. They did like a 5-part Death Row documentary in BET, and it was so good.
See that West Coast had like, because then there was that like Enlightenment era, like with the native tongues, like
De La Soul stuff.
well, Tribe, Jungle Brothers,
Tribe Called Quest,
De La Soul, right?
Yeah.
And then you had the far side, like you had some groups in the West Coast that were kind of
Psychedelic hip hop, yeah.
you know, and then that kind of went away. You know, and then you had I'd take Nas over Jay. And you know, Big L was great too, rest in peace. But that was such a good era, and that's when I lived in New York.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, you know, I was in the right eras at the right times. I think I got out right and came back at the right time.
I wonder too, like how you'll see like those clips of like a rapper on like Hot 97, either doing great at freestyle or terrible. Would that like make or break a rapper if they were on a morning show and they're like, hey, freestyle, and they would either shit the bed or like crush? Could that like make or break careers?
You know, I don't know about that, man. I would just listen to the songs that I found. Like my buddies would hand me these tapes. You know,
Yeah.
What was pretty interesting too. I was at a club in New York City. I say about almost 11 years ago. So what is that? 2009, right? And they played the show, dude, by Dougie Fresh and Slick Rick. You know, dun, 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 dun. I meant the whole fucking club just exploded. I'm like, wow. And that song and Planet Rock is the other one. When people hear that, they lose their fucking minds at the clubs.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's just one of those songs. Your last song is I love this song, and I feel like this is the first song that when I listened to it as a kid, I understood there was like heavy lyrics going on. So we'll play a little bit of it right here. Dave Mason, We Just Agree.
Yeah, you might want to keep it down because if it goes too loud, it'll mute itself.
All right. Let me know if you hear it. All right.
Been away, haven't seen you in a while. How have you been?
That part is so funny.
That we've grown up differently. Don't seem the same. Seems you've lost your feel for me. So let's leave it alone, 'cause we can't see eye to eye. There ain't no good guy, there ain't no bad guy. There's only you and me, and we just disagree.
But for those
All right,
wondering,
Dude, those lyrics hit me as a kid. I remember being like,
Yeah.
there's some serious shit going on in this song.
Well, I brought that up. Well, go ahead. What were you
No,
gonna
I was gonna say, this is a song when Dave Matthews came out. I told Brett yesterday that when this song came out, when people were talking about Dave Matthews, I'm like, oh yeah, I love Dave Matthews because I thought he was Dave Matthews. This is the only song I knew by Dave Mason. My brother got him to him. And for those wondering, that intro is just a phaser acoustic guitar version of Hold My Hand by Hootie and the Blowfish. Other than that, there's no criticism of this song. But
Well,
go ahead. I do love this song.
Why would you criticize that song? That's Hootie took that from there.
That's true. Hootie came later,
Hootie
but-
came much later.
but the phaser and the
And
electric.
it ain't even Hootie. It's those fucking Blowfish, man.
But the whole thing with this song, he puts all these like late 80s effects on the guitar. But if that wasn't there, this song, well, it's still timeless in my opinion, but it's such a song that would work today if somebody were to come out and recover it. Yeah.
I will say this about the younger kids now, man. I think we were talking about this. I think the millennials have just been a generation of critics. I don't really like, my generation, the Gen Xers and part of the one before me, in between my mom and me, we created hip hop, the internet, grunge music. Like there was genres that we created that
Mom pants, mom jeans,
high-waisted jeans, Cavaricis. I mean, come
see
on.
Cavaricis.
No, but the point is what has been done that is, but the 20-somethings, the kids before them coming after the millennials, I guarantee you they're gonna be a special group of kids, man. Because like that Billie Eilish's kid, whatever the hell her name is, that kid's talented, dude.
Yeah.
Did you say Billie Eyelash?
What, I forget her name.
Eilish, that's right.
Is it
I think it's Billie Eyelash.
No, it's Eilish.
Eilish, right?
We're all such boomers.
We're not boomers. I'm a Gen X.
We're all Gen X.
There are definitely young artists that I see that I'm like, that's pretty good. Or I could see like the K-pop guys, like I could see where kids would be like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen.
But
like,
I would,
cool guys, come on.
But you're right. If somebody covered this song from that era, I think it'd be great.
Yeah.
Now, to me, again, the 70s is the most creative era, and you got to give it to the boomers. Okay, they really knocked it out of the park because you had songs like that. You had the Carpenters. Then you had fucking Zeppelin. Then you had disco. Then you had the Beatles. Were even I think 71.
They started doing drugs. Yeah.
I mean, you had like 18 different rock bands. None of them sounded the fucking same.
Mm-hmm.
Every album, you could listen to a whole album and you're getting at least 7-8 great songs that became classics after another. It was, then you had like Glenn Campbell doing country music was
Rhinestone Cowboy.
But you know what I'm saying? Like it was, and then look at the TV shows, and you could argue the best movie from every genre is from the 70s. From The Godfather to Rocky to The Exorcist to E.T. to Star Wars. I mean, it just so much creativity came out of that. And they all meant something. Like they actually had to play instruments. This is the other thing people don't realize. They played in the fucking studio, right? They recorded the tracks in the studio separately so they could mix them.
Reel to reel, yeah.
You couldn't fucking fake it.
If you fucked up, you had to start all over. There's no digital replay.
And then you talk about Elton John and David Bowie. You could just go on and on, not even counting the fucking Temptations, stylistics, right? It was just the whole fucking thing. Yeah. The TV shows from Sanford and Son to Good Times to All in the Family to Happy Days to Barney Miller. I mean, it just was such a great era. And this song to me is part of that genre that I love to listen to, that yacht rock genre. But the thing I realized with those songs too is like when you listen to it as a kid, you realize, like you said, it's about something.
I knew something was going on in it,
Until you go through a divorce or you go through
I'm telling you, man, this song, there'd be like a divorced dad in the 70s driving around hearing this song on the highway, and he's probably just tear down his eyes thinking about his family.
Dude, I mean, this song hit me after my first breakup with my girl. I was with her for 8 years.
How old were you when this song hit you?
Well, when I really felt 30s.
Oh,
I was early 30s. And then when I just got a divorce, I was with her almost 10 years. But the first one really was more impactful to me. Like, because I went through it with the first one. After the second one, I'm like, all right, I've been here before. Yeah. I know after about a couple months, so it'll go away.
Did you send her this song on a tape? You're
No,
like,
no. But you know, driving around, listen to that. It sums up a toxic relationship. You know, it's just nobody did anything wrong. We just don't see eye to eye. And you know, you don't feel about me the same way anymore. We're just disagreeing all the fucking time. So, you know.
Yeah, just go our separate ways. Like there's no reason to be together. We should just leave each other alone. Like I like a song like that, like it's just like so perfect because it's like an anti-love song kind of, and it just being like, hey, this one's on us, like fuck it, I'm gonna go this way, you go that way, we won't ever bother each other again, and everybody will be better off for it. Everybody's been.
I talk about this in my new special, which hasn't come out yet because we haven't found a distributor. But at the very end, I say, you know, when we talk about, because it's all about relationships and being married and getting divorced and whatever the fuck it may be. But whenever you hear a love song or a movie, it's always about when we first meet or when we break up. This is what I love about comedy. Comedy is all the in-between shit that leads to the fucking breakup.
right.
You know? But as a guy that writes material and jokes and any comic, you know, I'm very big on lyrics and words. And I think this song just really sums it up when you know, nobody cheated. There was nobody doing anything. We just disagree. We got to go.
Or two comedians on a show talking about music we disagree on. Marty, big fan of country music. And I'm just like, you know, Marty, we just don't disagree. We just disagree.
Do you not like country?
Well, no, he's gotten me into country. He hates the Police, which I say is the greatest band of all time.
Please, I just say they're highly overrated. Paul thinks they're the greatest band of all time, which I disagree with.
I think they're an amazing band. I don't think they're the greatest band of all time, but
okay.
I think they're underrated. No,
that's what I've been saying. Let's just leave it low.
Hey,
we can't see eye to eye.
We can't start this right now. All right.
Wait,
I'm gonna play a song to leave.
No, wait, really quick, man. I worked at a redneck bar in North Carolina as a bouncer, right? So my first year was in Hickory, North Carolina. It was called Cadillacs.
With Brooks' old job, yeah.
And they played like rock, and then they played like country, and then, but more rock, a little bit of country, and I was like, Then when I was in Tallahassee, I bounced at this club called The Moon, and every Wednesday, it was Friday night with Stetson. And it was Stetson's, and it was all country music. When I tell you, dude, I would get nauseous. I'd have to walk outside. After about 7 months, I started buying the tapes. It just grew on me, man.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you got
it wears on you.
And then you listen to the words, and then you're like when I was driving from Miami to Vegas, I listened to a whole country section.
No, and I hated country growing up, but Marty's gotten me into some good country.
Getting him into good country.
Yeah, and I did during the COVID times. I had to do shows in the only places that you could do shows, which were like in Oklahoma and Arkansas. And then all I was listening to was country. I was like, this song's not bad.
Marty, do you like new country or you like the old stuff, right?
No, there's actually really good new country now, but I love the old stuff. But there's good new stuff too. There's some. It's like I would call it like alternative country. Where it's like off the beaten path.
There needs to be a country band that covers the Police, and then we'll call it. We'll finalize this disagreement, as Dave Mason would say.
So you want to end it? I'm gonna end it with a song right here. Brett, thank you so much. Our second MTV guest.
Yeah. Brett, where can we learn more about you and your new special comes out?
Just go to Bret with 1T comedy.com. Bret with 1T comedy.com.
And if you got to message us, paulmartymix@gmail.com. Correct anything we said wrong. Marty, what are you playing us out to?
This is Pump Up the Volume by Mars.
There you go. We can't hear it, Marty.
I don't understand this, man. Oh well.
It's too loud because it'll mute itself.
It's too loud.
You got low. All
right. Well, we did it.
Oh well.
We did it for the most part. Thank you all for listening or watching. Make us a mixtape. I'm Paul Farahvar.
Marty DeRosa.
Bret Favre over here. Bret Ernst. Thank you guys so much for listening.